all CEOs, me included, we don't actually know what we're doing.
They're all sharks, so all you got to do, though, is know shark behavior.
I don't think we've ever talked about this before.
We can capture all of the wallet share.
First place you start is with the product.
That's just the first nut.
This is the Capital Stack. Hey everybody, this is David Paul, the host of the Capital Stack podcast, where we talk to founders, operators, and investors about all things value creation within startups. Today I am talking to two gentlemen who are the founders of a company here in Arizona called BlueTail, which is a vertical SaaS company focused on solving problems for the aviation industry. These guys are named Roberto Guerrieri. Forget about it.
That's correct, by the way.
And Stuart Illian. And they just raised a Series A, an Arizona A, right? So you also made me do both of you. So this is the first time I've ever done two people in a podcast.
Fantastic.
So Roberto, you like codependent? You have to have your partner here?
No. We've known each other for 30 years. We started at Apple together, and it was Stuart's vision and idea that he brought to me about 4 or 5 years ago. And so we kind of like to do these things together because we're pretty good at ham and egging it. So
Nice. Cool. So guys, tell me a little bit about BlueTail and the genesis of you guys doing it. Stuart, are you an airline guy or aircraft?
Not an airline guy. I am an aviation guy. Started out in the 80s, aspirations of being a pilot, learned how to fly, got my commercial instrument ratings, and ultimately decided I want to be on the business side of aviation. So eventually worked my way out to the Bay Area, where I got in tech, started working for Apple, and that's where I met this character over here. He says 30 years ago. It was actually 35 years ago because time goes so quickly. But 5 years ago, I ended up in the Phoenix area. Roberto had been here for 20 years, and we had been talking about some new ventures. Roberto's got a really heavy SaaS background. I've got kind of tech and aviation, and we were looking at just some problems in the industry, and one that kind of jumped out at us was just this whole idea that there's just so much paper left in business aviation, which is surprising for a lot of people. So very simple concept. You've got an airplane, whether it's a light jet or a Gulfstream 650. It's got paper logbooks, associated maintenance records. Again, a lot of that's in paper format, and the penalty for losing that information is very stiff. Those aren't insured records. So the simple concept that we came up with was digitizing all those records. So basically taking what we call, paper records and bankers boxes, digitizing all that, putting it up in the cloud, making that information basically, taking it from static information to structured information. Once you get it there, you can search, you can share. You can do all kinds of amazing things that we've discovered since we launched the application. So that's basically BlueTail. There's one other important piece to BlueTail, which helps the other piece work, and that is we built a services business. And that services business is basically going on site, scanning those records, because oftentimes those records being so valuable, people don't want those records to leave the hangar. So we'll scan those records on site, and then we've got a huge partner network of scanning centers that will actually finish the scanning part. Then we onboard, we get all the records up in the cloud. So again, two businesses, and launched a few years ago and been rocking ever since.
Nice. So first of all, since you deal with these pilots probably pretty regularly, what the fuck is up with like new pilots always wanting to like take you up and fly with them? Like they just get their license and they're like, hey, like, do you want to come up and fly? And I just say no. Like, why would I want to? You don't get you get one mistake, right? Like, and you're done.
You do. It's a very binary industry. I always like to say that, and the penalty for errors when you're up flying can be pretty severe.
And they get offended, right? They're like, well, why won't you fly with me? I'm like, because you've been a pilot for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, pilots have the biggest egos, and they want to show you how good of a pilot they are. They've had 10 lunar landings, and they've got a fresh new certificate, and they want to show you just how great they are. So I think it's wise to be a little cautious. Let somebody else take the first flight, and
especially with small planes, right? Don't small planes crash more than big planes?
I don't have the exact stats, but
that would make sense, right?
Well, some have parachutes actually.
Yeah, they're at the Cirrus, right?
Yeah, they've got parachutes. Cirrus actually has auto land features, so there's a lot more safe stuff happening in aviation than ever before.
So I would categorize your innovation as kind of the following the digital transformation kind of movement. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the stories that we, of course, told our venture capitalists as we were going through our pitches is this is an industry that's, there's $80 million in the sky and there's $80 worth of paper sitting down in the hangar. And so it's a simple problem, but as we've been in it now for several years, making all those records searchable has been a challenge that we've really done well with. And not only is every word, part number, paint code searchable now, we're starting to pull out FAA forms and data on those forms. So we believe that we'll slowly become a data company for OEMs.
A verticalized data company.
Yeah.
So, and I think of like the value of a company like yours is, how do you become the best in class data and reporting engine for aviation, right? And I think through that is, because you can't have AI unless you have good data. And to have that, you need to have structured data. And to have that, you need to have data naturalization. So, from a technology perspective, I'm stupid, right? So like just kind of would tell a little bit about the audience about how you thought about that from this use case perspective and how you kind of built your product around that.
Well, good question, because Berto likes to say this of startups. And I know you know this, David, given your background, that where you start is never where you end up. Because we thought initially that there was just this old problem of being too much paper out there. It's not protected. You can't share it. So we really didn't think through, quite honestly, what the end game could be. So once you get everything, auto OCR'd through cloud native technology, hey, wait a minute, you can do this search. So you have this use case of being able to research before a major inspection, where now that's all done what we call box diving. You get the banker's boxes out. Sometimes you look at those in the hangar, you send them off to the maintenance facility. It's a very inefficient process. So there's a lot of lights that started going off once we started building this technology. And some of the new things we've been doing recently, we can talk a little bit later about this conformity module we just launched in January, would not have been possible with those first two steps of building the company. So we're discovering all these new potential applications that we didn't dream of, 3 or 4 years ago. Just because, again, that's typically the journey of a startup. And there's a lot of things in the product roadmap this year, which will follow on to conformity, which will build on all of what you just described.
Yeah. So like talking about data for a second, Adobe, right? For instance, you can scan a document and it can digitize it, right? And make it indexable, right? And then I see hundreds of startups, if not thousands, just say that they could, hand wavy, oh, we're going to use OCR, and this is kind of the out result. But the bottom line is generally that the products generally suck, right? And they don't really work that well. So how does one think about using OCR, right, and making it work? And like, how should a founder think about, designing use cases around that? Because it's not easy, right? If it was easy, everybody would do it, and it's extremely difficult. And when people just say building software is hard, right? Period. So like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, first of all, we always go back to the customer, and that's a lot of times people always say, under Steve Jobs at Apple is like, he knew the customer, he built everything that he thought the market wanted, but being in marketing at Apple, we spent millions and millions of dollars on customer research. And so we just go back to, we got a VP of product who's from the industry that has had all the jobs that our software, touches. So directors of maintenance, directors of aviation, AMPs, quality assurance. And we really start with use cases, just like a good software company would do. And we go back and we look at what do they do with the paper or the analog side of the world, and how do we digitize it and make it better?
So are there like standard forms that you can probably start with?
There actually are.
Yeah.
There's
that makes it a little bit easier.
There's maybe, there's 20 or 30 that you would use in a maintenance task, but there's 5, at the top of the list. And we use the technology to solve, a very basic problem. When we first started, we'd look at like a 400-page binder. We'd say, what do we do? Do we scan it page by page, name those files? That's not going to scale, right? Because that's, scaling a SaaS company is extremely important if you want to get
and deciding what kind of database you want to use. I mean, that's huge.
What kind
right?
of database?
Right.
We made some simple bets, which ended up being pretty good.
You could really fuck up early if you choose the wrong database.
You could.
I've learned that.
And thank goodness we didn't. We made a lot of solid bets. But just that 400-page binder, there could be what's known as a part certificate 8130, a form 337. The system, we trained it to pull those out automatically. Just virtually. So it doesn't change that original document. So you still have context if you want to do research. But just pulling those out can take, what was a half-hour exercise down to like a 20-second search because everything's right there. And then you can build on that. So those are the kind of things we're working with Roy on the product side, talking to, our primary audience, which in the aviation world is director of maintenance. They've helped us, figure out those challenges, and we're learning more and more every day as we get more people on the platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the technologies we just announced, and it has to do with like taking the analog to the digital, is a thing we call digital paper clipping. So if somebody's doing an inspection or a compliance, they'll be literally sifting through folders and binders and boxes, and then putting them together and literally possibly paper clipping, saying this is all part of a work order or some type of, maintenance event. So you can do that in our software digitally now by dragging and dropping and checking boxes and that. So basically you could assign something to like a project or a task and
absolutely
you can have different taxonomies within that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cause OCR, there's lots, like you said, Adobe, there's a lot of players out there in that space, but to really, we had a really early vision of making paper records come to life. That was a phrase we used to say, and we really didn't know what it meant.
Yeah,
we were like, let's live with that. Let's see if we can take this thing and make it. And over 3 years, we're starting to see customers asking us for, other types of use cases to make that happen. So
is there like an open source underlying OCR that you guys use, right? And like that, and then everything else built on top of that, the workflow and the features and functionality is kind of your own IP, but the OCR is kind of everyone uses the same OCR?
Well, no, there's several OCR technologies out there, but we have probably about 6 technologies that we've put together. So it's proprietary. The whole system itself is proprietary, but the OCR stuff is right.
But why?
That's right.
There's best in class software for that, right? Don't try to reinvent the wheel.
And it's not Adobe.
It's not Adobe. I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
We would have had to raise another $2 million if we wanted to use Adobe's product.
And so are there dials you have to play with from a product perspective to kind of understand, these forms?
Constantly.
Yeah, I'll give you one really good one. Dates.
Okay.
There's 30 different ways to put a date on a form. February 3rd, 3/23, and international, where you put the year first. So we want people to just literally take a picture with their iPad of an aircraft record and have BlueTail do the rest. That's as simple as what we really want to happen.
There's a whole business underneath that.
There is.
Yeah. That's incredible. And so you live so I'm a firm believer that when there's a problem set in the world and it is not solved, right? How big of a problem is it, right? Or, is there a technology behind it, right, that can move it? Is there a wave that's happening? Is there an inflection point in the industry or the market? We know that the technology is here. It's proven by you. Right. And, there's some legacy people in the space. Right.
Sure.
And then there's, and then you have this old stodgy industry, but where is this product kind of like an educational push into the market? Is this something that the market is pulling, right? Because there's an inflection point, an event that needs to happen. How do you think about that?
I think it's like a tractor pull. If you've ever gone to a tractor pull, showing some of my, maybe redneck roots, but yeah. Tractor pull, typically it starts out, so it is, it's more of a push. It's a heavy object and it gets considerably harder as you go farther because the weight climbs up.
So it just gets harder and harder.
So we are, I mean, make no mistake, we're creating a category. We say the category exists in commercial. It does. There's some established legacy players for the airlines, but in business aviation, which is very fragmented, this, there's, 15,000, business jets in the United States, 3,000 different charter operators. So trying to go out and basically sell this service, sell this product is a true category creation. So there's a lot of evangelism. There's a lot of outreach that we're doing with the regulatory authorities, the associations, through the sales team. And that's been a slog.
But that's okay.
It's a huge slog.
No, it's a slog. But I mean, within that, there's opportunity, right? I mean, I've invested in several vertical software companies where there is an educational component. There's a challenger sale methodology that kind of needs to happen. You need to kind of illuminate the thing they don't know.
Exactly,
right.
And finding the right messaging and trying to figure out when they're ready to buy, who else needs to buy into this. I don't want to say it's gotten any easier over the last year, but with some of the traction we've gotten, some of the great press that we've gotten inside the industry. People do know us now, so that is helping, from where we were 2 years ago. So, but it's going to remain a challenge, but it does feel like it's getting maybe just a little bit easier.
Cool.
Yeah, and David, we always, the phrase "follow the money."
Mm-hmm.
We think the tipping point is coming, and it may come from the insurance side of the house. It may come from the lender. It may come from the FAA. So we're literally working, all those channels and with heavy evangelism where whenever we go to a show, a trade show to speak or talk to, people from the FAA, we're always evangelizing, digital transformation. The FAA is slowly getting around to making that one of their initiatives in, pilot records and all kinds of other things they're doing. So they're catching on.
I mean, the debate is there's no longer a solid debate for it to be on paper or to be on prem.
Correct.
Right. Like
Correct.
There's not, you just admit that you're fucking lazy and you don't want to do anything about it. Right. And the CIA was the first customer on AWS, by the way, the first customer. So if they're confident with the cloud storage capabilities, I'm pretty sure that everybody else can do that, including the FAA.
I didn't know that.
That's
an anecdote. Thank you.
It could be false, right? I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody else told me that, so I'm just repeating it. So I sound smarter. But so how did you, and since you are creating this category, how do you think about pricing, and how'd you come up with that number?
So there is a little bit of guidance that we follow just through what we call like complementary business applications in the space. So maintenance tracking is one of them. When you own an airplane, you need to track all those life-limited components on an airplane when they're due, when they need to be inspected, replaced, calendar items, same way. So we looked at a few of the big players out there when we started and said, how do they charge? That they have SaaS companies. So we quickly realized that it's like a tiered structure by airplane. So if you've got a light jet, like a Cessna Citation jet or Phenom 300 versus like a mid-size Hawker 800 up to like a Boeing, BBJ, they all charge more per aircraft. And, in our space, the logic follows that bigger aircraft have more paper, they're more complex. So we looked at something like that, and we looked at like the overall value we thought we were delivering versus what a maintenance tracking would charge. Maybe they charge $15,000 per airplane per year. And if we're maybe 20-30 of that value, we're, maybe roughly it's $2,000-$3,000 for a heavy jet. So we threw that out there, and then we tested.
The market took it.
Yeah, the market took it. We tested it. There was some, feedback around, okay, how do you do with the onboarding piece? There's a scanning component. What if I've got a fleet of 28 aircraft? What does that look like? So a lot of back and forth. I think we made some pretty good bets initially, with some of the modeling this finance guy was doing over here. So we didn't miss the mark by too much. And that's kind of how we did Conformity as well.
Yeah, when we built the platform, David, we built it literally. One of the things I wanted to do is build it totally self-serve. Mm-hmm. Like I've been part of other SaaS companies where you wait to build the self-serve part, you do it all manually, and then you forget to build an admin piece to it. Mm-hmm. So you're like, you get started, you get some customers, and someone goes, hey, well, how did we do this month? And what are people using? Or what, and so you're backtracking and trying to figure out how to do that. So, we started as a self-serve model and we took it to market, and we realized the customers that were coming to us were actually larger fleets, larger flight departments, maybe with 5 or 6 and not just one. So we were thinking we were going after the owners, the jet owners at first. And the market told us, you're going after larger flight departments, fleets. And so we had to hurry up and do a little pivot on our admin piece of our tool, and actually the front end and some features. And so, the customer kind of guided us to, this latest version of our software. So
cool.
So we're still believing that self-serve will happen someday, but
yeah. Well, I mean, you have to solve the problem first, right? And you have to incorporate services, and then you just play with it. And then, if you're well capitalized, you just, say you'll do the services for free and, increase ACV, right?
Right. Exactly.
So tell me about your capital stack. Who are your investors?
Yeah. So we did a small seed round many years ago with some local key executives. But we did a Series A and a Series A plus, if you want to call it, but AZVC, led by Jack and Jason Pressman, who was running Shasta VC, and of course Ben Brockman is there as well. So they were the investor in the last round.
So did Shasta invest, or was he part of the investment committee?
He is moving and to be part of AZVC now
as a partner.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are they shutting down Shasta?
No. I think they might be fully invested, but you probably need to ask Jason that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But our first round at Series A was done by Todd Belfer and Brookstone Capital, which was you well. Mm-hmm. We're hoping this is our last round. We had two really good months last year where we were cash flow break even already.
Awesome.
So our subscription model, once again, we thought people would be subscribing monthly. Mm-hmm. They said, nope, we want to do annual. So annual always helps
right on the
cash flow. So we're really this year's going to be an investment. I don't think we'll see many break even.
And you have a lot of cash on the balance sheet, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So you actually have to start spending it, right?
Yes. Yes.
I hear you have tight purse strings. Just a rumor.
All right, who was it? Paul, Todd, who was it?
All of them.
That's the worst kept secret in Scottsdale.
You can talk to our wives. They may say the same thing.
Yeah.
No, we just, this is my fourth startup, and I've been through the 2000, and so has Stuart. Been through the .com bomb, and been through 2008, 9, and 10. So we've been through a few of these.
We got some gray hairs.
Yeah, we got some gray. And you know what?
We're kind of going through it now. Well, tech is in a recession at least, right? So we'll see what the rest of the world happens.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, before this little crisis happened, it was like spend. And then, Stuart and I.
We need at least 6 years of runway here.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, it's nothing phases us. We've been through quite a bit in our startup and our internet days.
We have been on a little bit of a hiring spree here, though. In the last couple of months, we brought in some new engineering resources, some great folks, new salespeople, marketing resource. Finally got somebody helping on the business development front. So we're burning.
Yeah,
we're burning.
You're burning.
So we've got an opening for a controller and some SDRs too. So if you know people out there, and hopefully people listening will
always looking.
In fact, we even bought tchotchkes now. We were so cheap before, we didn't want to spend any money on tchotchkes. So we have something for you.
Okay,
nice. And
actually,
your kids.
You're like a homeless guy with a plastic bag.
Exactly. Well, I
won't. So one name was noticeably absent in our investments, and that was David Paul. So we thought.
Well, you kept on pushing me these bullshit safe notes. They're like, well, we have $100K on this safe note, and I was like, fuck yourself.
You were moving too slow.
Yeah, dude, I am the quickest, yes, but you kept on giving me safe notes.
Well, we were upset about that.
You'd be already exited by now.
But David,
you're sitting here fucking around with your tchotchkes. You would have been rolling in cash by now.
We're also upset that we weren't one of your first choices in podcasts. You know, this is kind of like, hey, can you come down here and like, I got a spot I got to fill in.
I had to make you wait.
So we
I had to make sure you're going to survive. So we raised some money.
So what we this is cute, but we want to give you the bird for not choosing us first. So we've got some tchotchkes for you.
For the girls.
And you're for the girls.
I love it.
All right.
They will love it.
So
awesome. Where's mine? I have 3 girls. There you go. Perfect.
There you go.
Look at him. Look how pissed he got. He's like one more. He's one more down.
That's another 49 cents. Dude.
Yeah, right. Literally, he gave me 3. I have 3 girls. I asked for another one, and it looked like I farted in his face. He had to give me another Tweety bird. This is awesome. Very cool, guys. So, what are you excited about the next 18 months, 24 months, besides burning money?
Yeah, there's a couple of really big deals in the pipeline, and you're always going after the whales in this industry, and there's a couple we've been working on for, let's call it a year, and planets aligning. Yeah, we'll get a couple of those done here in the next month or two, which we think will further elevate just our prominence in the industry. Once this kind of gets out there, we're working on some OEM deals, which, if you know the industry, aligning with the manufacturers, the Textrons, the Bombardiers, the Dassaults of the world, getting BlueTail in there when the new airplane is shipped. We've got a couple of those in process, and some outreach activities. So we think just that, and what our sales team has been doing, which they've been doing an amazing job here, especially over the past couple quarters. With all that, we just think it's going to be a new game, and just really excited about some other international expansion opportunities, new products coming down the pipeline. So it's all those things together that keep us excited and up at night as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we're finally in a building all together.
That's true.
Yeah, we've been, we launched right in the middle of COVID. So we were home for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Then we did, of course, the shared spaces around town, and we were in split shared spaces, and we just got a space over actually really close to your office, Scottsdale Road.
That's awesome.
And so we're all together for the first time, and it's good. It's a good thing.
Well, I really am happy for your success.
Thank you.
Really. Normally people that, I don't invest in, I usually wish, the worst for them, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, I really do. This would have been something that I would have been very interested in, but it looks like you had some other investors kind of in there. So it's super cool that you guys got funded. I love that you're staying close to the industry, that you're super vertical, specific, and you're doing data naturalization, which is what everybody needs. And it's vertical specific, period.
Yeah.
Right. Verticalized data, verticalized reporting, I think is where the puck is going over the next 20 years. Because, honestly, the flight people are not going to buy Snowflake, right? They're not going to have a ton of managed services around there.
Yeah.
Right. So I really think what you guys are doing is incredible. So anyway, so quick round of lightning round questions. First is, what is your favorite book?
My favorite, let's see, my favorite book. Good question. First of all, I love the Bible.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Nice.
Good stuff. And I also, I like a lot of the Malcolm Gladwell books. I know they're overread, but I like a lot of his business books. I think he's boring
as fuck. Like, honestly, I think he's just dry. You know what I mean? Like, I've tried to read it, and I've tried to, do it, but obviously he's very popular, but for me, he just doesn't hold. Like, I like Adam Grant better. I think he's an overread guy too, but like, at least I feel like definitely he gets me a little bit more.
Yeah.
So don't read as much as I should. Everybody knows I'm a movie person.
You're more of a TikTok guy.
I'm a movie person. I'm a movie snob.
What's the best movie you've seen recently?
Babylon.
Okay. What about The Whale? You see The Whale?
I didn't want to watch it.
Dude, it's so depressing. Dude, it's good.
That's why I didn't want to watch it.
It's good.
Why do you want to watch a movie to be depressed?
Because it's real, bro. It's fucking real.
Yeah, but book wise, I like I said, I don't read a whole lot. One sticks out in my mind: 48 Laws of Power. I read it 25 years ago.
Yeah, I got to like 12, and I was like, "This is too much."
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You got to jump around. You got to find the ones that work for you.
Yeah, no, it's a good book. Though. It's a good read.
Great anecdotes, and but yeah, more admittedly more movies, more shows than.
What shows are you watching?
I'm a huge Fargo nut. The show.
Oh, is that good?
Fargo.
Is that similar to the movie?
It is and it isn't. I think it's some of the best series that have come out in the past 20 years, which is a bold statement when you got Sopranos and Breaking Bad. But I'd put it right at the top.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched it, they're going to do a new one and it's coming. It's great.
Do you guys watch? What is it? The White Lotus?
I watched it.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
My daughter and some other folks, not my cup of tea.
Not your cup of tea.
But I can see how you'd like it. It's good.
I watched the last season because it was filmed in Sicily, which was amazing cinematography and beautiful, beautiful stuff. But he's like my Kramer in movie phone. I call him up. I go, "What should I watch today?"
Poker Face. We just started. If you've heard about that,
is that a show?
It's a show on Peacock. It's quite good.
Okay,
it's quite good.
I watched Shazam 2 last night. And it was awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm a comic book guy, and I love Shazam too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was great. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming in to speak on the Capital Stack. We launch an episode every Tuesday on all your favorite platforms, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. If you like it, please subscribe, tell a friend, and we will see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Capital Stack Podcast. Make sure to share this with someone you know that can benefit from this content. Remember to support this show by rating, reviewing, and subscribing. David Paul is the founder and general partner at DWP Capital. All opinions expressed by David and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of DWP Capital. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for decisions. David and guests may maintain positions in the securities discussed on this podcast.